friends are since.
Hello there, good people of the internet. Today I'm going to be talking to you about a secret fetish of mine. And no, it isn't that before you start. Instead, I have to admit to you that I have a deep obsession with headphones. I am fanatical about different types of headphones, and over the years I've been collecting and experimenting with as many as I can get my hands on. I think all of this kind of stems from my childhood, where I had that first real experience of joy when I tried out a good pair of headphones and realised how music could sound instead of, you know, the crappy £10 earbuds that I was getting out the Moore store at the time. And I still to this day think that different headphones can provide quite a different listening experience when it comes to music. And so I was particularly excited when I saw that Rode had come out with their own headphones back, you know, last year sometime, the NTH-100s. The reason I was excited was partly because I love headphones in general, but also because Rode is actually a really pretty cool company. They make lots of really good products already, including the pod mic, which I use for a lot of kind of vocal recordings that I do, and also the wee Rode Wireless Go here, which I use in pretty much every video I do. The other reason I was particularly excited about these is that they're specifically designed to be useful for people that make stuff. And by that, I'm trying very hard not to use that evil term, content creator, but that's really what it is. It boils down to folks that make things in their house, whether it's, you know, bedroom producers or folks that run a YouTube channel or vloggers or whatever it might be. These headphones have a set of features that are directed and designed to be useful for those creators. Now, the reason I'm telling you this up front is because if you're coming to this video wondering whether or not these headphones would be good for you as your everyday kind of grab and go pair, then the answer is probably not, because even though they are really good headphones, and we'll come on to talk about why that is, they aren't designed to be the competitors of the Bose QCs or whatever else is on the market at the moment. Specifically, they don't have Bluetooth connectivity, they're hardwired only, they don't have active noise cancellation, and they also aren't portable in the sense that they don't fold up into a nice neat wee package that you can chuck in your bag and take on the plane or whatever. Now, that isn't a criticism, because headphones in this professional category don't have those things for a reason. There is Bluetooth latency, etc, etc. And actually, because Rode have focused on the key features that are relevant to the demographic they're targeting, they're actually much better for it. And the kind of direct comparison or competitor in this area, I think, would be the Beyerdynamic DT770 Pros. You're probably familiar with these headphones. I've got a set of them here. They are quite distinct with their grey velour style pads here. These are the things that get recommended to people if they're asking for good headphones to mix in the house, or just for general kind of media content creation stuff, and for good reason. They've been around for ages, they're relatively comfortable. However, I have been using these for quite a while, and I have to say that even though they are undoubtedly a quality headphone, they aren't my favourite pair for making music with, because I've found that over time my ears get really quite hot, and not just that, they also kind of make me feel a bit suffocated, in the sense that I very quickly get ear fatigue. And so if I'm trying to make music over the period of a few hours, these are not the headphones that I would rush to use, to be honest. Instead, when I've been making music over the past few years, my headphone of choice has been the DT990 or 900s, I can never remember. Effectively though, these are just the cousins of the DT770 Pros, in the sense that they're basically the same headphone except they are open backed. And this is good because it allows more airflow around your ears. You don't get quite as hot, you don't get the same level of kind of exhaustion or ear fatigue, and for that reason that's what I've kind of been sticking with. Now, as great as they are, they do have a big problem, and that is the open-backed earphones allow the noise to come in from the outside in, so you can hear what's going on around you, and also everything you're doing is very audible to anyone that's sitting around you. And that means that you can't really use them in public places in the same way if you're at a coffee shop and trying to edit your videos, and you also can't really use them with a condenser microphone, because if you're recording, it picks up all of the bleed. And so whilst they are comfortable and I enjoy using them, they're not really perfect either. Finally, another worthy mention goes to the ubiquitous DT100s, which you've probably seen on countless record covers or inlays and things like that. These were a studio standard for a long time, and for good reason. They're very comfortable. They basically cover your entire face, not just your ear. They are very useful in live kind of studio environments, and that's where I used these really when I was recording with my band. They were fantastic for that, when you just needed to crank it and, you know, play your guitar or whatever. Again, as good as these are for certain applications, they are not particularly great for use if you just want to sit on the couch and edit videos, or let's say sit in your home studio and record a synthesizer, because even though they are very comfortable, they are very large, your ears do get very hot. They only have a 1/4" jack as standard, which means you can't easily plug it into your laptop, and similar to the other Beyerdynamic headphones I've been talking about, they all have quite a high impedance, which means you need quite a lot of power to drive them properly, and your laptop, for example, isn't going to be able to provide the juice that these need, and you probably need an amplifier for the other ones. So with the NTH-100, Rode are kind of sitting in that sweet spot, at least for me, of addressing all of these particular requirements, and I think actually doing it quite well. So let's talk about some of the features that I think are particularly interesting and worthy of your consideration. First of all, when it comes to impedance, these headphones are 32 ohms as standard. Now that sits in the kind of nice position where you can drive them fairly easily from your laptop without the need for an external amplifier. But if you do want to use an external amp like the one in your audio interface, for example, then it will also drive them without distorting them too early. You know, you're not going to blow them up easily like I have done with other previous headphones that we won't talk about. The second feature that is worth talking about is the cable that's included with the NTH-100s, and this might seem like a kind of stupid, obvious thing to talk about. However, there's a number of features or a number of particular facets of this cable that are worth mentioning. First of all, one of the big criticisms of headphones like the DT770 Pro, the DT900 and all of those is that the cable isn't detachable, and that means that if the cable gets damaged for whatever reason, let's say, I don't know, you drop a cymbal on it and cut it in half, then often it can be quite difficult to replace without having to just, you know, buy a whole new set of headphones, which isn't really the most economical of practices to get into. With the NTH-100, the cables are detachable. That means that in theory, if anything goes wrong with it, you can just get a replacement, unclip it, clip it back in, and away you go. You don't have to worry about taking the whole thing out or going for a kind of advanced repair job. Now, the other interesting thing about the cable is that it's got a locking mechanism on it, so it securely fits inside the ear cups rather than just relying on the tension of the audio jack itself, which is, you know, another nice thing to have. Similarly, on the other end of the cable, where it connects to the 1/4" jack adapter, this is the screw type, so it means that rather than it just sitting in there and inevitably causing bad connections, as so many of these adapters seem to, or at least the cheap ones I buy, the locking mechanism means you screw it in, it's nice and tight, so if you want to use it with an amplifier or something, you can get that 1/4" jack and it's fine. Now, the final thing that is really cool about this cable, or at least how the cabling works on the NTH-100, is that you can change the side that you want to plug it into. Now, this is a bit of a revelation, because if you use different laptops, for example, you'll know that Apple, in particular over the years, have changed the side that the headphone jack is on their MacBooks. And this has driven me insane, because sometimes you have to plug it into the left, sometimes you have to plug it into the right. And it's a total pain in the arse. And you can see that headphone manufacturers have shifted from putting the headphone on one side to the other, depending on whether it's for an Apple product or a Samsung product, and it's just madness. I can't tell you how much that annoys me. Similarly though, let's say you're on your laptop and you're mixing, and then you want to come through to your studio with the interface and it's on the other side. It can be a real pain in the arse to get the cable kind of tangled or trail it over in front of you, and being able to switch the location of the cable on the NTH-100s from the left cup to the right cup very quickly and easily, depending on your particular scenario, is actually a genius, brilliant feature that I love. Now, as a byproduct of this rather clever design, Rode have also been able to release this rather nice NTH headset microphone, which effectively just plugs into the free audio slot. Now, normally I wouldn't be crazy about plug-in headset microphones. However, this is Rode we're talking about, and if anybody knows about microphones, it's them. You'll have to ignore the chaos of the studio in the background here. We're just going to pretend that that isn't happening. But the reason that I am talking to you from this angle and on my computer is so that I could show you the Rode headset in action. Here it is plugged into the headphones, and I have to say, one of the things I really like about this is that it is pleasantly discreet, much more discreet than I thought it would be, because if you're familiar with any of those Sennheiser headsets for business, like Zoom calls or whatever, or even the Razer gaming headsets, a lot of their microphones, whilst, you know, perfectly functional, are kind of intrusive in that you get this weird protrusion snaking around the side of your mouth, or like
some big baby arm coming round the side, and it doesn't look particularly stylish at all. But with the Rode, it actually does, and I like this way better than the other ones I've tried. Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Included in the package is a TRRS cable, so you plug that into one side, which would send out the microphone data and also the audio, so you can hear what's going on, and the other side would have your headset. And this allows you to instantly transform these headphones to something you can quickly plug into your laptop to join a podcast. Similarly, if you're a gamer and all of that, this is also a good way to have a kind of multi-purpose set of headphones, and it's just a kind of consequence of, again, the clever and very purposeful way that Rode have approached all of the different problems or use cases that someone might have for headphones in this particular market. Now, when it comes to the headphones themselves, I have to say that I was really pleasantly surprised with the build quality of them. Unlike some other headphones in similar price brackets, they don't have that kind of cheap, nasty, hollow plastic feeling that you often experience, and I think this is partly because of the metal headband. But more than that, the ear pads have got this velour kind of texture to them, as well as the covering on the headband, and they are generally very, very comfortable to wear. They don't clamp on your head too tightly, and adjustments are made incredibly easy and also precise by the use of this lock-in mechanism, so you can kind of adjust things, get it into place, and then tighten it back up so that it won't move from that position. So if you're somebody that hates the fact that every time you pick up headphones you have to readjust them to, you know, your giant head or whatever it might be, this is another massive plus. Now, one of the coolest features of these headphones is one that I haven't really talked about yet at all, and I've just realised that that's a terrible pun as I've said this out loud, but within the memory foam earpads there is some kind of cooling gel which allegedly helps to keep the temperature around your ears at a comfortable and nominal level. And when I first saw this advertised in the kind of marketing, I was like, well, yeah, I'm not too sure how much I buy of that, but I have to say in practice it is genuinely brilliant. When you first put the headphones on, you don't really necessarily notice it too much, but after about 30 seconds I can feel a distinct temperature differential, which is just this very interesting sensation. It's not cold or anything, but it's not warm as you might expect those velour cups to end up getting as you wear it for longer periods. And I have been using these headphones for hours and hours since I got them, listening to music, making music with my full rig in the background, and they are some of the most comfortable headphones I've ever worn for extended periods, including the DT770s, the 990s, and even the DT-100s with their giant massive ear caps. Can we also take a moment to appreciate, by the way, that inside the ear cups they have large L and R markers that tell you which ear is left and which is right, which is really important if you want to just quickly pick up your headphones and not look for a red or blue indicator on there. It's just another brilliant wee touch. Now we come on to the sound portion of this feature, because obviously they are headphones and we have to talk about it, but this is where things get a wee bit sticky, because as I said earlier, this experience is going to be kind of subjective depending on your own personal preferences with headphones, but also there are technical considerations in there that mean that I don't want to trigger the audio files by saying something as clarity or detail if I'm not 100% accurate on that. What I can tell you is that these headphones sound pretty fantastic to me. There's a nice amount of balance in there. I feel a real spaciousness with them where I can pick out the different elements of the instrumentation. The mids in particular have really, there's definition in there. It isn't all just a muddy mess, which sometimes it can be with headphones where they focus on the highs and the lows. Speaking of the lows, the bass is nice and punchy without it being that kind of overwhelming thudding bass that you often get in headphones that are trying to just appeal to the kind of mass consumerist market, because that's the big thing, is lots of bass, isn't it? You shouldn't really be mixing on a single pair of headphones anyway, so why don't you just buy these and compare them and listen to lots of different headphones? I mean, that would be my preference anyway, and maybe that's my justification for having hundreds of headphones, actually. So in case you can't tell from this glowing review already, I genuinely really love these headphones. I think Rode have done an excellent job and really impressed me actually with the attention to detail of the core requirements of their target market, aka me. A perfect example of this actually is within the box you get these colourful clips that were described as being to allow you to customise your cable, and at first I thought that was a bit of a strange thing to do with a professional audio product, but actually the more I looked into it, the more it made sense and seems like a kind of genius move, because Rode are in the business of providing podcast equipment, and not only do those colourful clips help you identify quickly the headphones you're using within a busy kind of podcast environment so that you don't end up with somebody else's sweaty headphones in your head, but also the colourful clips apparently correspond to the channel strips on their podcasting gear, which is just, it's such like a brilliant example of joined up thinking. It's really smart. Things like that make me wish that other gear manufacturers would take the same approach as Rode does, and I'm just so glad I managed to convince them to send me these. When it comes to pricing, the Rode NTH-100s are currently at about 130 Great British pounds here in the UK. That is only slightly more expensive than the other Beyerdynamic DT770 Pros that I've been talking about, and they're also much more comfortable, have the detachable cable, have the cooling ear pads, and all of those features that I've already been waxing lyrical about. From my perspective, if you want a single pair of headphones at an affordable price to use within your home studio or on your laptop for creating music or doing your podcast or whatever else, these are now the headphones that I would recommend over and above the DT770 Pros, which is not to be said lightly. Thanks for watching this video. If you are a fellow headphone fetishist like me and would like to see more of this kind of content on the channel, then leave a comment below and I'll take it under advisement.